Good afternoon and welcome to the Guitar for Vets Workbench. I'm your host, Daniel B. Guitar for Vets, Cavart's virtual chapter guitar instructor, also host and team member of the Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop. And every good guitar shop has a technical and repair section. They provide services for changing strings and cleaning and some repairs, as well as performing setup and modifications on your guitar or guitars, in Kurt's case. Those services are not free, however. So there are some guitar maintenance skills that you yourself can learn to perform on your guitar and save some money, and a trip to your local guitar shop. For some folk, there is not a guitar shop that is even conveniently nearby if you live in the woods, for instance, like a few people I do know. So, anyway, learning these guitar maintenance skills are important and keeping your guitar in good top condition. The G4V Workbench crew is here to help with learning some of those skills. At the end of today's event, we'll have a little bit of a question and answer and comments, and we can talk about building guitars then. Please bear in mind that everything that is talked about or demonstrated by the Workbench crew is based on the Workbench crew's experience, opinions, skills, and knowledge. Every effort is taken to verify any information that's put forth. Any references to brands is for demonstration purposes only. The G4V Workbench has no affiliation with any of them, the brands that we are mentioning. It is my pleasure to introduce the Workbench crew, and let's see if we can get these two guys to come up. We have with us the lead of the Workbench crew. We have Guitar for Vets Guitar Shop guitar guru John DeMarco, and Mr. Leif Peterson. And Matthew Lorance is in Texas today, where he does not have any kind of good real world, what's the word I'm looking for?
He's off the grid.
Yeah.
He's off the grid.
He's out in the woods.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For good reason too.
So, Mr. DeMarco, Mr. Peterson, the floor is all yours.
Well, thanks, Daniel. Yeah, we're going to do a little different today from my end. Rather than demonstrating directly to you, I've actually got a video that I'm going to share with you that I literally shot, I don't know, 13 years ago, 14 years ago. It was the very first time I removed a bridge. So I'll talk a little bit about how I do things a little bit differently now, but it's kind of a nice little video, and I'll walk you through it. As I do it, it's time compressed compared to how long it took me to do what I was doing. But let me pull that up and share it with you. There we go. I'm hoping everybody can see close-up of a bridge. If not, somebody let me know. This was a friend of mine wanted two things. First of all, the bridge was coming up, and you can tell that by the fact that I can actually get a chisel underneath there already. This is an old Epiphone, I think, that he had. And like I said, I documented it for a couple of different reasons. So the first thing you see me doing here is I'm taping off all around the bridge, and there's a couple reasons for that. One is to hopefully not damage the finish right around the bridge, and you'll see why in a couple minutes here. The other thing is it lets me know exactly where the bridge was, although you can usually tell that once it's off because there's generally not any finish underneath there. Now what you see here is a damp washcloth, and I'm using, that's a tacking iron it's called, and I'm getting some humidity in there with the iron, and then I've got this palette knife. And it had an edge on it already, but I shaved it to a really fine edge. And now you can see I've decided to warm up the knife itself, took away the washcloth, and I'm just starting to work underneath that bridge to free it from So at this point now, I went to this is not a hair dryer. It's actually I forget what they call them, but it's hotter than a hair dryer. I'd recommend a hair dryer. Yep. All right, and there it popped loose. Now that whole thing took me about 20 minutes, and yes, it did pop into that hole. That's why I showed it to you in slow motion there. So there's the bridge off of there, and I'm going to pause it for a second. Couple things I'll point out to you. You can see where it really was not glued down very well. There's not really an even coat of glue on this, which is sort of sad, considering it was a name brand, guitar. The other thing you'll see where around the edges by the tape, that the finish actually extended underneath the bridge, and that's one of the reasons why I think it started to peel up after a number of years. So that's not an unusual occurrence. I'm surprised that's how it does, how they manufactured it, because frankly, when I build a guitar, I put the bridge and glue it down first, and then I tape it off, and then I do my finishes after that. So in any case, a couple reasons why it probably peeled up. So now I'm going.
And John,
yeah,
while you've got that paused, you were using a lot of heat and humidity to get that to pop up and to reshape that.
yeah.
Is that also potentially what happened in the first place? Is just like unideal conditions, or do you think it was the glue predominantly?
I think it was mostly the glue, but you're right. I mean, if you leave a guitar, any guitar, electric or acoustic, in a hot car, for instance, or in an attic, all things are off. No matter what kind of glue you use, it does get softer the hotter it gets, So, probably could be a variety of things, that happen there, yeah. And then you'll also notice that a little bit of the soundboard peeled up on that bridge too. The next thing I'm going to show you is it's time compressed, not as much time as I worked on it, but I spent some time scraping all the glue off that I could get off of that, and getting it nice and clean. Now, this next shot is one of the things he said to me was, well, since we're going to pull the bridge off and put one on, I want a new bridge, and I want it to look, kind of like an Ovation bridge. So this was my first attempt at making a bridge. I've gotten better since then. But it was interesting because basically what I did for the string spacing was I used his old bridge to get the string spacing and the saddle, length and height correct. And then, as you can see, that it's sort of like an Ovation bridge in that you put the strings in through that front edge, so rather than going through the body of the guitar, it just is on the bridge.
Is that Rosewood, or is that walnut?
No, that's actually Rosewood. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm certain it's not Indian Rosewood. Everybody kind of talks about Indian Rosewood. You really can't get that anymore. So this was, I'm going to guess, Madagascar, something that's, legal to get into the. And by the way, if you ever do make something out of rosewood, any kind of rosewood, it is, many people are very highly allergic to it. And I actually had a friend who was hospitalized doing some rosewood on some furniture. So it is a very kind of caustic wood, although it's beautiful, of course. Anyway, I'll keep going here. So the next thing I'm doing here is I'm using what's called a story stick, and I'm measuring from the nut to the 12th fret, and then I'm just placing the new bridge roughly where the old one was. And what I want to double check is that my bridge and in particular that it's going to be the right length. And so, just in case we've never talked about it before, from the nut to the 12th fret, and then from the 12th fret to your saddle are equal distances, basically. Now I'm doing what's called a dry fit. So there's no glue on this, and I used basically like a hide glue to glue this on for a couple reasons. It's kind of traditional, but it's also easier to get apart if you need to. But I'm doing a dry fit because you don't know how much setup time you've got, and you want to make sure everything actually fits. And this is something I learned from working on furniture, which is, don't stick glue on something until you know everything's going to fit together okay. So the next thing here then is to pull those off, and I'll start gluing up some things here. This is kind of these three. And it's the way I had to do this because of the kind of bridge it is. But let me just stop for a second here again. So you'll notice that what I did for registration, I took the first and the sixth hole here and measured them very carefully out on the bridge, and I put little pegs in here, little stubs of pegs in here, so that when it came down to put the bridge where it needed to be, it was exactly where it needed to be, so that I didn't have to worry about it sliding around. Because the other thing is, once you put glue on these surfaces, it gets real slippery. And so you can actually have things move, and then you let it sit for a couple of hours, and the next thing you know, you're removing it again the hard way because it's moved around. So because it wasn't a through bridge into the body, I just used a couple of the original, peg holes for registration. And then, so now you'll see me, buttering up the.
So now, John, you wouldn't put something back on the underside because that would change the way it would resonate, right?
What do you mean?
So like if you were to add additional bracing, so if you were to go through and then glue something to the underside of the bridge.
Yeah, I mean, it could. I've actually done that to raise a bridge, where I've used a little bit of veneer to raise a bridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you use like hide glue, it dries like glass. It's really, really hard. So yeah, I think you can get by with it in some ways. And by the way, I didn't show it, but I actually cut a new outline with my tape to make sure that it matched exactly with my bridge, so that when I had squeeze out from that bridge, it
would go onto the tape.
Onto the tape, yeah, instead of the of our finish on our guitar. So okay, and now we're gonna glue it back on, and again I'm just going back through the same step, and you'll see some squeeze out starting to happen at this point. So this three clamp thing, this is very traditional when you look at books and stuff like that. I don't, for regular acoustic bridges now, I don't actually use this. I'll show you what I use now. It's just a little doodad I got off the web, a little jig that really does make it much easier than what you're seeing here. Other than that, you have to feed some things through your peg holes, and I'll show it to you here in a second. And so that's pretty much it. As far as the blobs that came out here, what I've found is that if you wait about 15-20 minutes, you can peel that right off. It's still kind of rubbery and not adhered a real lot, so you can just peel it right off. And also, by the way, that rosewood is pretty oily, so it you have to do a really good join to get the glue to work there. But that's my little video of
now
this.
You're using the bottled hide glue, not the heated up.
Right.
Like it's like pre-mix. You're using the premix like what is that?
Well, they all
tight bond.
Yeah,
is it a tight bond?
Yeah. Yeah, and it usually comes in a couple different colors. So the traditional is more of a brownish, but because this was a lighter soundboard, I decided to use it's not really white, it's, I don't know, kind of a cream color. I don't know if you guys can, yeah, I think you can see this. So this is my bridge jig that I use now, and I think I bought it for like, I don't know, 12, 15 bucks. Yep, exactly. Yep. That's the brown stuff. Yep.
Okay. Let me ask a question, John. This is Joe from Guitars for Vets Long Island chapter. I use these brass bolts that are from Stuart McDonald. I don't know if you can see them.
Yep. I see them.
They're hollow. It's a brass bolt with a washer and a nut, and they're hollow. And I use them on either side of on either E string, and they're pretty cheap, and they allow me to get side to side alignment with a dry fit.
Yep.
It's just a really good thing to have in the toolbox.
Right, and that's actually what this is. This little jig I've got here.
Right.
So the way this works is essentially these two. I got to make sure it's in the camera for you guys. These two go through your peg holes, right? And these are adjustable left and right, and then you get these clamped down in the middle, and then you use these to put some more pressure on the ends, on the wings of it. So yeah, either way works great. What you really want is nice even pressure across the whole thing. And the other part of it is like you were just saying, you want to make sure that it definitely isn't going to slide around. So by putting something through those peg holes, that's perfect. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Hey, John, this might be a perfect transition, like to show everybody like the StuMac website and some of the parts, since we're talking about that now and everything.
Yeah. Let me just.
Joe, you said you got that from StuMac?
Right here.
Yeah.
That's what this is. It's a little blurry, but it's on the StuMac website. It's their item 3417. So if you just go to stumac.com and type 3417 in the search bar, these things will come up. They're $38 for a set of 4.
Yeah.
Well,
hard to say, so there you go.
Yep. From my understanding, G4V does not promote any specific products, but
that's
knowing
right.
where to find that's important,
Right.
And that and that's part of the love of the guitar community. There's no walls of professionalism. And so like StuMac's great. John, you've got that pulled up?
Yep. So, here's all the different things when I do, a bridge clamp, I think is what I put in from my search. And here's all the tools and, other jigs and stuff like that. By the way, magnets, and they don't have to be their magnets, come in real handy sometimes for repair of like soundboards and that kind of stuff. We'll probably do something on that at some point in the future. But
you can also use that magnet to find, like if you're trying to figure out where in a body cavity, something that you put a magnet there and then use it, put a strong magnet on the other side, and it'll show you right where to drill.
Yep. And then, by the way, if I just do acoustic bridges, hopefully something comes. Yep, here we go. And so you can see that, you can buy bridge blanks, you can buy them finished. They like, for instance, here's this, this complete set to remove a bridge and to glue a bridge back on. Different kinds of sound hole clamps and the cam clamps like I was using. There's just a lot of things that you can spend money on, I'll tell you, honestly, and I have.
My favorite part about StuMac are those tools, kind of like what you were showing off. This is like, it's the very specific tools for a specific job, but it cuts down on the mess ups.
Yeah.
Like that, it makes the job so much easier. It's expensive.
Right. Well, so I was going to show a couple more examples. There's, a lot of different sites you can go to. This is a place, I actually like this for a lot of my electric guitar stuff that I work on. Guitar
but I mean,
Fetish.
but for like StuMac, really, it thrives, or I guess it's what would you call it? Like its sweet spot.
Yeah.
Is those tools.
Oh, absolutely.
I can't cut them out because, like nobody else has those unique tools.
Right. Yeah. This is more of a parts kind of a thing, right?
Yeah.
Hardware and, that kind of stuff. A lot of electronics, a lot of pickups and bridges and stuff like that. And the prices are really pretty unbelievable, I will say.
Yeah.
And they're pretty top notch. I mean, it's like so much of this stuff is actually manufactured in Asia. But
I have an SL56
do you?
that
Okay.
I have refurbished.
Yeah.
That's Slick,
Yeah.
Earl Slick. That's
Yep.
Bowie's
Yep.
David Bowie's guitarist.
Yep. And then, All Parts is another company that you can get a lot of parts from. Again, they're maybe a little more expensive. They all have, you can buy bodies and necks, unfinished necks. You can buy all the hardware you need. And then who else did we put on
So
the
now
list?
All Parts, I just found they've got the classic, like the Gibbs, the Les Paul style classic tuners, but you can
Hmm.
find them at Locking.
Okay.
And so All Parts, they quality, but yeah, you're paying for it.
Right. And then,
Yeah.
even Sweetwater has a lot of parts, right?
Yeah.
Bridges
Yes.
pots and that kind of stuff. And then, I have actually successfully, not every single time, but on occasion, I have successfully. Oh, Diodario is another place
Yeah.
you can go. And then I think,
Philadelphia Luthiers is a great one.
Oh yeah,
okay,
Philadelphia. Yeah.
okay. Yeah. So there's no end to this, right? It's
Yeah.
kind of,
Yeah.
and then of course there's also like this is CB Getty, and we were talking about this before we started the program, but they specialize in cigar box, guitars, and so bridges that are only for 3 strings or 4 strings sometimes, but they've got electronics, they've got unfinished necks. One of my favorite things, I don't know if I can go right to it. Um, well,
The
and they've got
cigar box. Yeah.
yeah, and they've got kits and stuff like that. But one of the things that they thrive on here is if all you're looking for is literally the cigar box, they've got a million different cigar boxes, and I don't know how many people smoke cigars anymore, but somehow these guys have scored cigar boxes, actual cigar boxes that you can use, to build, these kind of squarish guitars. So, and I do like, I've actually built a couple of these kits for friends. Um, uh,
They're so fun, so easy to play,
right.
and you know, the personalization is off the hook.
Yeah.
It,
Yeah.
oh,
I
I
mean,
like that one. The Patriots one. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. See, I
Yeah.
mean, and you can, it's so easy to make them so unique.
Right. Yeah, they're not a fine craftsman kind of a project, right? You're probably going to mostly use them with a slide, and I'm not
Yeah.
a slide guitarist, but I can make noise with these, so that's
Well,
fun.
and triads,
Yeah, yeah,
power chords,
mm-hmm,
bluegrass.
yeah, yeah. And then without you know uh, a doubt, you can get a lot of parts off of Amazon, and some of them are
Oh yeah.
good, and some of them are maybe not as good as you were hoping. Um, and so but they also have a lot of, like, Stu Mac has a lot of their stuff on Amazon. All
Well,
parts, um,
and
so
beyond that, like so the G4V, the beater that I'm working on, these are all used high-end parts that were either given to me or I found at my local music shop. So trying to, it's like this one is an attempt to build it out of all used parts, but trying to make something, nice.
yeah. Hey, why don't you talk about that 6 point bridge a little bit? I think
Yeah, yeah. So looking at this spring and looking at kind of what we're trying to do, um, what I have found is that basic 6 point. So on a Squire, Stratocaster Squire, or a lot of the entry level electrics with the wiggle stick or whammy bar or treble, whatever you want to call it. I like to call it a wiggle stick. Um, they come with a 6 screw bridge. And just for time's sake, I'm going to do a write up of kind of how to adjust it because it's a little time consuming, especially when you have to re-drill it. But it is one of the most basic. I think, John, do you remember? Is it the 50s or the 60s when they came up with the 6 screws? Or does Daniel know?
Daniel might know.
It's a mystery.
Okay, but I mean, but it is really stable, and it requires a little bit more kind of tuning with a screwdriver, but like versus having 2 posts that it floats on. This is a really good system to kind of tinker with and to build off of. Um, and like I'd like for like if we go forward in the workshop of doing some electrics, if people are interested, I think it's a it's a very easy system, especially if you want that wiggle stick. Um, Whereas the other kind of option for entry level is that Telecaster, which only has 3 adjustable saddles. And I think Matt was hoping to do that, and maybe we'll do that,
Yeah,
again in the
maybe.
future.
Yep.
But yeah. Um,
Well, and talk about. Did you have to do any routing to make this new bridge fit or anything like that?
I didn't have to do any routing on this one, but the back plate, it fits so snug. There's I will not be putting the back plate back on this guitar. One of the things when you're putting aftermarket, kind of like when you're putting aftermarket parts on your Chevy S10, is it's never going to be the same. So you've kind of started the what do you call the aftermarket part till it dies.
Hmm.
You're going to be switching parts forever. Um, but
I
yeah,
liked I liked you use the brass sustain bar on that.
yes. So I don't know. Like I said, I will take pictures and I will post.
Show that bar. Show that.
So
Hold it up.
let me see if I can.
Let me get you in a.
There we go.
There it is. Hold up. There it is. Perfect.
Trying to get at it. I had to pull the background effect off, and now it won't. There we go. Okay. So this has a much thicker piece of brass than the original. And this is also made by FU, which is Floyd Upgrade. Just so nobody gets confused. Floyd Upgrade, FU. It's an FU tone bar, and those are like don't be afraid to use boutique parts and to look for unique things. Um, but we were talking about things that change the tone. A thicker piece of metal does change the sustain. I don't know how much a difference between brass and steel would be. If anybody else knows, that'd be Daniel. Do you know?
I would think because of the alloy itself, there would be some better properties. Because other ones are made out of stainless,
Yeah,
and stainless
and
can be, while it's a brittle and hard at the same time. Brass, just it's brass. That's what they make
it's
bells out
it
of. That's
sounds
why
so
they
much
make a
better
bell out
now.
of
Yes,
brass than
yeah,
steel or iron. Right.
and it's a nice solid chunk of
Or
brass.
bronze. Bronze is another one.
Bronze.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, and then Daniel, did you have anything to add, or I know we're doing pretty good on time.
I wasn't
Do we?
prepared with anything.
No, oh, I know. Any other questions or anybody have anything that they want to?
Yeah, we'll get Matt to show off his tellas here in the
Yeah,
future. We were expecting him too, but yeah, any questions about either my little video or um, the only thing I would tell you about using any kind of heat is you want to be careful with how much because you don't want to ruin the finish. I actually have seen people who are pretty upset that a hairdryer can actually melt the finish, but it actually can.
Oh, hair dryers get very hot.
Yeah,
You were using a heat gun.
yeah, and I don't use it anymore. I use a hairdryer. Yeah,
Those are about twice as hot as a.
yeah, yeah. But and again, covering it up helps. And by the way, the tape I used was painter's tape. It's low tack, so it comes off without pulling finish off with it or anything like that. So
So now, John, how do you figure out what your finish is? Because especially with acoustic guitars, there are so many different finishes, and unless somebody tells you or you know when you buy it.
Yeah, I mean, it really depends on the manufacturer. You can sometimes look it up on the web and see what they've been using. There's a lot of well, in the past, old guitars, it was a lot of nitrocellulose, and I have never messed with that. It's pretty caustic on your lungs, and even with a respirator, unless it's a professional respirator, a lot of guitars now, they're both acoustic and electric. They're really using more of a what would I would call it more of a plastic kind of a coating. It's
Coating.
yeah, yeah, and and it's more of what they sometimes will call it acrylic, but it's really what you'd put on a wood countertop, and then sometimes it's even like an epoxy. And so, for me, the only thing that I look for is if I have to use a little bit of stain, and then can I get the gloss right, if I have to do something. That's really the main stuff I look for now. I don't try to match it exactly. It's more like I want it to visually look right. I'm not too worried about using exactly the same product they did. I mean, a lot of electrics are literally dunk and dip, right?
Well, that's, you know, as we're talking about this, I'm imagining and thinking about like what kind of electric guitar to maybe Cerakote, like
Yeah.
to get a really good, tough, durable,
Yeah, I actually used the epoxy. I don't think they call it epoxy, but it's the epoxy that you use like on a bar top.
Yeah,
I've
yeah.
used that on a couple of electrics, and it's kind of a cool process because it seeks its own level. So you have to make sure your table is very level, and you have to do the front first or the back first, and then the front, and then you have to deal with the sides, and then you have to make sure the excess is gone. But the most fun, not that my wife thinks this is fun, is the way you get the bubbles out is you fire up a propane torch and you pass it over the top of it to get the bubbles to pop, and the air to come out. And it's actually a very amazing hard finish when you get done. So,
Boy,
um,
you could make it look like candy though.
oh yeah, oh yeah,
But does it make it heavy? Like, because I've
yeah,
I've
yeah,
felt some who is it? BC Rich makes
yeah.
those the full acrylic guitars, and those things
Yep.
are heavy.
Yeah, those are heavy. No, this is more like what they do when they in the manufacturing when they're dipping them because they don't just dip them once, right? They dip them,
Yeah.
they let them drip off and dry, then they dip them again, and then they start buffing, right? And it's actually a lot of ways it's like a car finish almost, if you think about what they're doing. So, um, but on the acoustics, and frankly, the acoustics that I've built, I just use very simple um, products. I basically use something like Danish oil or um, you know um, any of the kind of like ancient stuff. And
Well, so okay, so I have used was it
so
True Oil?
sure,
True
true.
Oil, so gunstock
True oil,
oil on
Yeah,
mine.
gunstock.
Now,
yeah,
I don't know how toxic that is, but it's one of those
yeah,
things, something I have been exposed to a
yeah.
lot and I'm comfortable with.
Yeah, and if you're
But
and if you're if you really want to go safe, just use shellac. And
okay, yeah,
I've had people who spray shellac, but I've found that I can just rub it on. It's not exactly French polishing, but it's kind of like it. You use
okay,
some real soft cloths, and you just put as many coats on as you want. They all dry in 15-20 minutes, and
yeah.
you
Now,
know.
but you keep that off of like the untreated fretboard.
Right, I don't
You
put it
keep
on the
that. You
fret.
don't put it on rosewood, right?
No, I don't put it on the fretboard, and in fact, I don't usually do the back of my necks either. I typically on the back of my necks, I typically use True Oil or Danish oil or something, and maybe a little bit of paste wax after it's
Oh, okay,
dry.
yeah,
Yeah, after it's
yeah.
dry. Yeah, yeah. So you couldn't stand out in the rain with any of the things I make. Okay, that's I guess what I'll tell you. Uh,
Not necessarily a campfire guitar.
Well, as long as it's not raining.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So on the example of the guitar where you were repairing the bridge and removed the bridge, that's an Epiphone. I don't really know what they use for a finish, but you would have to match that finish around the smaller bridge that you put on there.
Yeah.
I have a few tailors, and I've worked on tailors. Their recommendation is if you're doing any kind of drop fill or touch up on a Taylor guitar is to use CA glue.
Sure.
I almost fell off the chair because I use it, but I don't use it for full finishes because my eyeballs will burn out of the sockets by the time I finish.
Right. But if you think about it, if there's anybody who's ever done pen making, that's a lot of times the finish they put on wooden pens is CA glue. So.
The guys who make the glue boost stuff actually have aerosol versions of their product that are used for guitar finishing specifically.
Wow. Okay.
And the guy who runs the company, they seem to be pretty popular. Their accelerator works great. They have all types of different products. But I'll use their products on touching up tailors. I'll use the thin. Mm-hmm. And I'll try not to use the accelerator if I don't have to, because you never get it where you want it to be unless you're a surgeon. Does anyone use grain filler on new builds? Like I use Aquacoat, which is water-based grain filler, and they just came out with about 6 months ago a water-based lacquer, which they claim works. I just bought it. It's still I haven't touched it because of the weather. I'm in New York and it's like Alaska here right now. So, and we're getting a blizzard tomorrow.
You're welcome, by the way. We had it earlier in the week here in Minnesota. So,
yeah. Well, my driveway is 75 feet and 2 cars wide. So,
well, so you'll have a lot of fun.
Yeah. And it's pavers, so it makes it even more fun.
Oh boy!
But I'm going to try their water-based lacquer. I do use nitrocellulose from StuMac as well as Mohawk.
Okay.
We were just talking about not all parts Earl Slick, so that texture. So he claims that he doesn't use wood filler. He claims that the wood should breathe. And so it leaves a lot of texture. Like I've heard a few other people say that, you don't want to choke the wood or suffocate it. That's the word.
Yeah.
Well, try telling Martin that, because on my right? on my
Yeah.
D45, my D45 is finished in nitrocellulose lacquer, and it seems to be looking and sounding quite well.
Yeah. 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 I think a lot of this is what you're used to or what your experience is, and because I've thought about that too. Like the other thing is, like, having made a lot of furniture in my life, the fact that on a guitar you're really only putting a finish on one side of the wood is kind of a no-no in other scenarios, right? And so yeah, it's an interesting thing, because no matter how well you seal the outside of that guitar, it's open to the elements on the inside, especially on acoustics. I don't know about so much on electrics, but yeah, again, like I said, I've never really wanted to mess with nitrocellulose, but certainly been around for a long time, that's for sure.
Just don't breathe it, that's all. And
Yeah.
None of us are production builders. I'll usually spray outdoors.
Mm-hmm.
It dries a little slower than shellac, but it does dry, and you can just you wear a mask and you spray it in a garage with the garage door open, or however you want to do it. But no one's going to breathe it. Anyone who's worked with nitro, there's good parts and bad points to it. But as far as the sound and what you mentioned earlier, Eric, about filling the grain, or Earl Slick's opinion of wood filling, if you're building a relic Telecaster, all bets are off and all rules don't count as far as finishing it. But if you're taking some, I build with Koa a lot, and it costs more than just buying a new guitar. The wood is prohibitively expensive. The grain has to be filled.
Mhm.
You have to grill. You have to fill the outside of an acoustic guitar if it's Koa. The inside. The only people I ever know that put any finish on the inside of an acoustic guitar. Some people will use shellac
Mhm.
on the a light coat of
Oh,
shellac, but because it is a sponge.
mahogany's got some huge pores in it too.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
You know, it's not Koa. It's
Koa is
yeah.
mahogany.
There you
The
go.
only reason Koa looks different is because it grows on the Big Island in Hawaii, where it soaks up all the lava through the roots.
Oh, okay, okay.
And that's
Yeah,
over thousands of years of soaking up lava through the roots.
yeah.
It comes. It has this beautiful different chatoyance or chatoyance, whatever they call it.
Chatoyance.
Yeah,
I think it's French.
It better be, because I don't know
The
what the hell.
fire. The fire within.
Yeah, but you know, the Koa is an expensive wood. I mean, I just bought a book match top. I mean, for a base I'm building, and you know, the wood can be $300 for a 1/4 inch
Yeah.
book match top.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you got to put a filler on that because the wood has a lot of soft spots in it.
Very
You know,
much, yeah.
particularly the figured stuff. Some people fill it with epoxy.
Yeah.
I know, John, you said you use epoxy for finishing. I mean, a lot of folks now are use epoxy for grain filling and then nitro or something else on top of it for the actual finish, and that gives you a top shelf finish.
Mhm.
But you got to know what you're doing with the epoxy, and you got to have
Yeah.
the stomach to sit there and sand it flush or flat.
Man, yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully it doesn't bleed through.
Yeah, on acoustic guitar
Yeah.
sides, it will. You know.
Yeah.
But you just use enough to fill the grain.
Mhm.
But I'm using the Aqua Coat, and it's not the greatest grain filler in the world. It's water based, but it looks like wallpaper paste. You can smear it on and hit it with a squeegee, and then sand it. Do 3 coats of that, and I mean, I have one here. I could put up to the camera with Aqua Coat and nitro. This is Aqua Coat on zebra wood. Let's see.
Can you take your background effect off? Your blur?
Yeah, I'm gonna do that right now.
That's a beautiful guitar. There we go. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that's Aqua Coat grain filler on zebra wood. It's a zebra wood neck, and then the back of the guitar is swamp ash with the same finish. So it's an Aqua Coat grain filler. And by the way, if you send Aqua Coat a photograph of your work, they'll send you a free $75 quart of their new water-based lacquer.
Nice.
Which is why I have a quart of it in the garage. So, but that's the guitar. It's
Yeah, that's gorgeous.
Yeah, it comes out nice, even when you finish the little back cover plates with it. They come out good.
And that's, you know what I was going to say, that's what I've been doing now with my electrics. I've been using wood for the back plates instead of plastic. It just looks so much nicer to me than, you know, a black or a white piece of plastic.
Yeah, this
Oh,
is.
you can buy those acrylic sheets in any color now.
This is what I use my scraps. I use my scraps to make cover plates on the back of this black Limba instrument.
Yeah, beautiful.
And the best thing to use for the making cover plates would be, where is that guy here? I have another one.
That's a great shop there. That's fantastic.
I'm missing a guitar. That's crazy. Oh, so this one is this is the black Limba. Yeah, and I just did another one on a Telly.
Yeah.
If you ever want to build your own guitar with a tremolo, look into Trem King.
With a wiggle stick.
Trem King out of South Carolina. They formerly from Texas. The guy's name is Rusty. It is the best tremolo you'll ever put on a Strat or a Telly.
Tell you what, John, I mean, this is so we need to have our little builders group. If anybody has ideas,
Yeah, absolutely.
or like, I know a lot of us have extra parts, you know, if you can think of it, somebody can help you build it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. there's a lot of good ideas. You know, I'd rather do this than YouTube. Yeah, and I'm using a lot of Paulownia wood. I don't know if anybody's familiar with Paulownia or Empress wood, and it gets a bad name because it's plantation grown. But I have a cabinet shop here that mills their own trees from wild grown Paulownia, and it looks just like swamp ash. So this is a Paulownia guitar.
I saw Catalpa. Do you guys know what
Catalpa.
I'm talking about? Catalpa.
Yeah, that's a little heavier. But this guitar has a flame maple top.
Look at that.
It's like a 1/4-inch flame maple top, and it's Paulownia back, which is a hardwood. Looks like swamp ash. This is not plantation grown. This is wild grown, and this guitar body weighs 2 3/4 pounds. This whole guitar weighs 6 pounds.
Oh, that's pretty nice. Yeah.
And
basswood. Yeah. It's
not that. It's lighter than basswood, but it's about as hard. And if you're ever in one of the big box stores like Home Depot or Lowe's, and look in the bin where they sell the maple. This maple.
Look at that. This
is a Home Depot piece of wood, by the way.
Yeah. There you go.
So it works. They don't sort the wood. They just buy so much, so you can go there and sort it yourself and walk out with some bird's eye maple or flame top stuff. Sorry to hijack your thing. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No. I think
this is great. This is great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is what we want.
Yeah. Well, one of our thoughts, guys, is that sometime we'd like to do a full build maybe with everybody, and we'd maybe start with just parts, and do it, because I know not everybody's got access to all the saws and that kind of stuff. Although I have to say, the first guitar I ever built, I built with a little tiny big box bandsaw and a hand drill and chisels, and it actually worked.
That was about $30,000 ago, right?
Well, yeah, I don't know about 30,000, but I could have bought a lot of guitars with the amount of tools I've bought over the last 20 years. That's for sure. Yeah.
But, see if you can find one of those little benchtop pin routers. I have 2 of the Bosch tabletop pin routers. They have a pneumatic foot pedal and a 3 horsepower router. Little thing. You can find them used. I paid $350 for one of them, and they are phenomenal. They also there's a knockoff of it made by Grizzly, one of Grizzly's companies, Woodstock or something, and they made a knockoff of it. They knew they were under $1,000. Having a pin router is the greatest thing if you're not going to CNC.
Yeah.
It worked for Will Fender for all those years.
Right. Well, I don't have a pin router, but what I do have is, I build my, and that's actually that may be a good show sometime. I build all my patterns with the idea that I want a thick enough pattern that I can use it with my router, with a pattern with a bit that's either got a collar on it or something that'll rub against that pattern, and that's how I do it now. I don't. Pin router would be fun. Of course, I've also wanted an overhand. What do they call it? An overhand saw.
A radial, one of those arm.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I about lost that much of my pinky to one of them.
Yeah, I was about to say they're not the safest thing. You think a pin router's dangerous? Try one of them things.
They have a tendency to roll over.
I grew up with a friend in the neighborhood whose dad had one, and boy, that was a lot of fun to work with. Yeah.
They're great. Yeah.
Just be careful if you're ripping a large board.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You don't want to deal with that. Well, the pin router is a nightmare too. If that bit only spins one way, and if you spin the body, it's
the wrong way.
No loose clothing.
Yeah.
You will throw a Stratocaster body halfway across the shop if it doesn't kill you on the way.
Right. Right. Yeah. Excellent. Well, anybody else? Questions, concerns, thoughts?
I thought I
Um,
saw Dan's hand go up. Dan Spielberg? Did no? Oh, okay. All right. I didn't mean to pull focus to you there.
Well,
I've
guys,
got a
it's been
tip.
Yeah.
When I was removing the
Give us
bridge
the
off an
whole
old
thing. Give us
Jasmine.
the whole thing, Kurt.
Okay, I'll give you the whole thing. When I was removing the bridge, I like to use a heat lamp, but I cut out cardboard to cover the top of the guitar and just the shape of the bridge. So I'm kind of keeping the heat and stuff, protecting the finish when
yeah.
I was
Nice.
removing a bridge.
Good idea.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. Very nice. Yeah.
okay.
Well, all
Anybody
right,
else?
Daniel. I think that's and I think we did better on time than we ever
are
have.
at that time of the event where we have to say adios. So coming up next week, next Saturday, if y'all are into bluegrass, and I highly recommend seeing Danny Smith do his thing. He's a great teacher. He'll be showing some different techniques in bluegrass, and he will be featuring the song I'll Fly Away. He tries to keep it very basic for all levels. And then, let's see, the guitar shop will be back the second Saturday of next month. The workbench will be again on the third week. We're going to determine whether we're going to do a Wednesday or a Thursday or a Saturday. And next Friday, for all you that are into cav arts, we'll be having office hours, and that is going to be where Paul and I, and also one of the cav arts ladies, Megan Natoli, will be there answering questions about everything and anything. And we do ask the coaches, the event coaches, to stop in if they have a chance. And that'll be at 1 o'clock on the 27th. And then we're going to try to be doing that every last Friday of the month. We're going to do a couple of them, see how they go. It'll just be, if you got something to say, something you have a question about, something you want to put forward, then we'll be there to do that. All you have to do is, it'll be live on Cav Arts. There's no Zoom meeting or anything. There will be a banner, I guess, across the top of your screen that you click on to go live. So we're looking forward to it. We're a little nervous about it because we don't know what we're doing. It's gonna liken me to my old radio days, and just a call-in show.
But that always makes it more fun and realistic, and yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, I like visceral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you get to see how well I cannot express myself. Okay, so let's see. Anything else? Anybody really quick that you can all think of? All right. So thank you all for being a part of today's discussion. Guitar for Vets is a 501c3 nonprofit dedicated to providing relief to struggling veterans through the healing power of music and community. Since 2007, Guitar for Vets has served at-risk United States veterans impacted by PTSD and other service-related trauma. Through our unique 10-week structured guitar instruction program, putting the healing power of music in the hands of our nation's heroes, helping to foster renewal, connection, and community. On behalf of the Guitar for Vets Workbench crew and myself, be well and keep on strumming.